I think we'll wait another minute. And in the meantime, please use the chat, the Q&As part here in the meeting. If you have any questions, I'm sure we will be a small group of people, so just ask your questions in the chat. I'm sure we have plenty of time, and yeah, I have plenty of time to answer your questions, and I will provide the session and the content for you, maybe for you 3 people, but of course also for the recording for people on YouTube then later on. So if you have any questions, please ask them in the chat. Okay, I think we should start. So if you wanted to join the session about building your own intranet agents in minutes, you're right. So we can check that. My name is Tanja. I'm a M365 solution consultant. I'm also a Copilot prompter. That's not an official name or word, but I call myself the Copilot prompters because of a video series that's called the Copilot prompters that's provided from Communado. Unfortunately, it's in German, but I think based on your names, I think 2 people here in the session speak German, so maybe it's helpful for you. Follow me on LinkedIn. Here's the QR code to my LinkedIn profile. And yeah, this is my first session actually in English, so I'm a little bit nervous. And on the other screen, now I can see you, but actually I can't see you. But behind my Teams window, there's actually the Google Translator on. If I'm looking for some vocabulary or something like that, please help me out. Maybe also in the chat if Google can't help me, or if I have to be really fast. So yeah, be kind. This is the first session in English, not my first session at all, but I'm sure it will be okay. So yeah, I know there are people here who speak German, but I'm sure there's also someone who's speaking English. And because also the session gets recorded, I guess it's okay if I follow in English. So why do we talk about intranets and SharePoint Online? So basically, I have to make it clear. The session name was how you can build your own intranet agents. And of course, I'm talking today about intranets based on SharePoint Online. I'm not talking about intranets based on Confluence or another third-party tool. We're in a Microsoft 365 session. I'm also a SharePoint consultant. I love SharePoint. And that's why I'm speaking about intranets based on SharePoint Online. And why is the combination of SharePoint Online and agents so important right now? So maybe you could join the Ignite. Some months ago, there was also a slide that was similar to this slide here. And also Satya pointed out that the combination of Copilot and SharePoint is really crucial. So it's really important combination. SharePoint Online is somehow, I would say it's the backbone of Microsoft Teams. So the documents in Teams are already saved in SharePoint Online team sites. A lot of companies use SharePoint Online to create their intranets, to create SharePoint Online-based solutions for quality management, for contract management, for process management, all that stuff. So a lot of information, a lot of data and files are already saved in SharePoint Online. So that's why the agents, most of the agents, no, I have to be precise, all the agents always have SharePoint Online as their first knowledge source that you can use in the agents. So it's obvious that the combination of AI and in this case, Copilot as AI or generative AI with SharePoint Online is a really good combination. And Microsoft is working out a lot of solutions based on this, combination. I would say it's true love between the two, between the two solutions or between the two tools. So what are benefits of using AI in your SharePoint Online intranets? The first benefit is, of course, that the generation AI, I'm calling this generation that gets used to use AI instead of Google to search for stuff. They want to use agents. They want to use generative AI. They want to use chatbots. AI-based chatbots. So the younger people who are joining our employee markets, who are joining the work market, they all want to use AI in their working environment. So if you already have a SharePoint Online intranet or SharePoint Online solution, solutions, the easiest way to provide a solution to this need is, of course, to use agents based on SharePoint Online to let the people search through the content. The second thing is the search behavior changes. So I think I would say until 2 years ago, we Googled most of the stuff and we used just single words to ask our questions. I got used to just Google a word or something like that. Now it changes. We have to prompt. We write sentences again. We write questions again. So the search behavior also changes when it comes to the new generation. People don't always want to crawl through the whole intranet. You know, I think it's the most difficult part for SharePoint Online intranets and also for other intranets to give it a good structure, to put a lot of effort into the navigation, to make the user experience really good, to build creative and pretty looking sites. And I think that's still a really important thing to do. But I think it's really easy to give you can just be a little bit lazy when it gets to structure. I love structured intranets, and it's still a really important topic, but you can just prompt and use the data that's already there without having to think of where do I put this in the navigation. You still have to think of where to put it in navigation for people who are not using agents at all or SharePoint agents and the agents you build in Copilot Studio. But I would say, it gets easier to get to the right information without clicking through the whole intranet. People want to prompt directly in Teams. That's also, I think, a huge requirement. People are used to use Microsoft Teams as their main platform, as their working hub. So people want to prompt in Microsoft Teams. People want to use Copilot if they already have a Copilot license, or if they don't have a license, they can use the M365 Copilot chat with enterprise data protection. This is not the marketing show here. Sorry, but this is the most benefit behind the M365 Copilot chat. So people want to prompt, and maybe they don't want to jump into the intranet, also not over Viva Connections, directly in Teams, and not in the browser. Maybe they just want to ask their question and get the right information. And also a benefit is you can build specific agents for departments. I will show that to you just in a few seconds or in a few minutes. This slide is a little bit overwhelming, I would say, and you have to hold on tight. It gets a little bit more detailed at the end of the session. I will show you a table that I just worked out yesterday, and you can use a screenshot, or you maybe I can send you the slides to get this overview, but I will also post it on LinkedIn, the table. I just wanted to give you here an overview of all the possibilities you have to build agents based on SharePoint Online intranets. And I already built a lot of intranet agents, actually, with Copilot Studio, with SharePoint Online agents, but also with the M365 Copilot. And that's why I wanted to give an overview and a short introduction to the different possibilities you have. So the first thing you can see on the left side is, I'm sorry for the namings here. We all know, I guess you all work with M365. It's really confusing with all the renaming stuff and that. And but I have to use the right words for it. So on the left side, you can see the custom engine agents directly in Copilot Studio. This is the possibility with the most features, I would say, to build a SharePoint Online intranet-based agent. It's a low-code approach, so Copilot Studio comes from the Power Platform, so you don't have to code in there. You can use code. You can combine it with the rest of the Power Platform, so you can build your flows and all that stuff. And that's why the creators here, and maybe that's not a familiar word for you, but mostly citizen developers are creating agents, custom engine agents in the Power Platform and also in Copilot Studio, and of course the IT department. Citizen developers are, I would say, IT. What is affine? Is there an English word? Maybe it is affine. People who like to do IT stuff without being in the IT department. So people who really like to build their own IT stuff, people who like to build their flows, who are really fast when it comes to adoption of new software. So we call them the citizen developers also in the Power Platform. So the possibilities here in Copilot Studio to build your agents, I would say the focus is more on the citizen developer side and the IT side. It's I already said it's the most customizable thing you can do. And the interface where you can provide the agents is wherever you want, except Copilot. That's really annoying, but it's on the roadmap. So if you want to publish your agents building Copilot Studio, you can't publish them as agents right now in the M365 Copilot chat, but this is on the roadmap. The next thing you can do, and that's really, really simple, is the SharePoint Online Agents. That's the first thing I will show you in the demo and in my SharePoint environment. They are ready to use. The creators are SharePoint Online editors, so that's a really good-looking interface. You can just build your agent with a few clicks, and it's ready to use for everyone in SharePoint Online. The interface, of course, is SharePoint Online, and you can also publish them into Microsoft Teams group chats, and it's on the roadmap that you can also use them as single chatbots in Teams, or that you can, I guess it's also on the roadmap to use them directly in the M365 Copilot chat. The third thing are declarative agents, that are agents that are directly built in the M365 Copilot, so also in the Copilot chat, and we can separate, or we can differentiate, I don't know, between two of them. The first one is they are directly building Copilot Studio. So the creators are, again, citizen developers and the IT department. They are really easy to build, and the interface, of course, is the Copilot chat, and you can also publish them in Teams. That's what the documentation says. And the fourth one is the declarative agents directly in the chat. Maybe you've just seen in the last weeks that the M365 Copilot chat, so the free chat, the free Copilot is rolling out right now. And in the future, people also have the possibility to use the agents there and to create agents there. People who are already M365 Copilot licensed, they can already create their own agents directly in the M365 Copilot chat. So I'm just taking a look into the chat. Okay, perfect. So let's go on. I will start with the SharePoint Online agents, with the ready-to-use stuff. And I would say I will just start with the demo. I already talked a lot about all the slides here, but I guess you're here to see the stuff really live. We are here now in our demo environment. I'm logged in with Austin Powers. And if you see anything that's looking weird, it's because this is a demo environment, so there's a lot of stuff going on here. I hope it stays in English, and one else of my colleagues is putting German behind the settings, but I guess it will stay in English. On the top right corner, you can see the Copilot icon here, and these are the SharePoint Online agents. So if you click on the Copilot icon, you can see there is a chatbot interface, and we can prompt. I already prepared a prompt for this session. Let's just use the first one. What are Comunado initiatives? That's an information that should be written down in a page or somewhere here in this intranet. Yes. And you can see the organization homepage provides some insights into the initiatives that Comunado, new colleagues for our HR team, news from you, me, upcoming events, and all that stuff. And here, down there, you can see the reference. It's coming from the starting page. This here, maybe that's important. I guess it's important for you. This is a hub site. So you can see on the top of the screen, there is a hub navigation. So you can just switch to the HR department. So to the site collection of the HR department. You can also switch to the IT department. There's the IT stuff. And you can also go back to the starting page. And I would recommend to always use a hub when it comes to SharePoint Online intranets, because you can structure your content, you can give the right permissions. It gets a lot easier to navigate here through the intranet because of the hub navigation. And yes. In the documentation, Microsoft says that the starting Copilot, or the default Copilot, the pre-configured Copilot Microsoft is providing here, always searches through the hub if this site collection is a hub site. So in this case, it should crawl, or it should search through the whole hub. I will try that out. In the IT department, we have a page that's called, I don't know, password policies or something like that. So it's a page that provides information when it comes to the password policy, information about the password policy. And here we can see, I just prompted what is our password policy, and it searched through the IT department. We take a look into the reference. I will click on password policy. And as you can see, this is the IT side. So Microsoft was right also in the documentation. We also have this information here on our hub side Copilot on hub side agent that is pre-configured in here. So this is working fine, but I have to tell you, it's not always working fine. Sometimes it forgets that this is a hub site and says, oh, I'm sorry, I can't find that on organization home. And yeah, but in German, we say, I think the English word is childhood illnesses, Kinderkrankheiten. In Germany, we always say stuff like that has Kinderkrankheiten or childhood illnesses. And I'm sure in some weeks it will work out perfectly in here. We have also the possibility to build our own agents in here, and this is really easy to do. You just click on create an agent. Then we can go on edit, and let's just build an hub agent. I think I also, yep, it's the Intranet hub agent Cloud8. I prepared that on the other screen. I will change the icon. Let's just go into the right folder. Is this the right icon? Yes, this is my icon here. Then I will put a description in there. This agent answers questions concerning the intranet. It searches through the whole intranet. Intranet, there's a typo, and uses AI. Then I will go. The next thing is I can go to the sources section. Let's save that in between. And now I can provide a lot of URLs in there, of course, only SharePoint Online sites. And if I want to add, for example, the IT department site here, I can just use the URL. So I copy that, put it in here. Then I get something like a drop-down. You have to click on it. And then you can select either you want to search through the whole entire site, or you want to just use a document library, a folder, or a single file. That's also possible. And here you can see an information coming from Microsoft. Up to 20 sources can be chosen for each agent. This is not a limitation when it comes to document file sizes or something like that, or file capacity. It just says that you only have the possibility to add 20 sources in here. So 20 lines, I would say. It's completely unnecessary how many documents you have in the site collection or in this document library. It's just possible to use 20 of them. So it can be 20 hub sites, it can be 20 site collections, 20 document libraries, or even 20 single files if you want to choose them. That's also possible in here. And here down there, you can see something that's, I would say it's interesting. Just a look forward onto the roadmap. You can click on Add Advanced Customization in Copilot Studio, and then you get a hint that this is not working by now, but it's coming soon. So if this is not enough in here, so if you want to configure more, do more when it comes to resources, you want to, I don't know, use triggers and flows and that stuff, you can just go into Copilot Studio and customize your SharePoint Online agents directly in Copilot Studio. So this is on the roadmap. Now we can go on behavior. And, oh, I didn't prepare a welcome message. So let's just leave it like that. Welcome, enhance your productivity with this agent. Start a conversation by asking questions, selecting one of the suggested prompts. So I will use my starter prompts in here. What is our password policy, for example? I can also, I leave that here, create an FAQ based on these resources. And let's just take another one, actually from the home site here, what are community initiatives. I already prepared a system prompt, so an instruction for this agent, and I will tell the agent to always be kind with people and always answer informal. I want the agent to be funny because I always want everything to be funny, but it should be professional. And always answer in the input language of the user. I have to be honest, I don't know if I have to put that in there because when I tested the agents in the last weeks, sometimes it used my input language, sometimes it still ignored my input language and always answered in English or answered based on the SharePoint site or the SharePoint page or the language the text or the information is provided. I always put it in there. Let's just save that. And now our Intranet Hub agent Cloud8 is ready. You can test it in here. Let's just say, what is our password policy? Then it's working on your requests. Coming through the documents. And here you can see, that's right, perfect. Here's the reference. Here's the password policy. So the SharePoint page that we also used some minutes before that you've seen. And so everything's fine in here, I guess. Intranet IT, Intranet, perfect. So let's close that again. And I will refresh that page because this is something that's still a little bit buggy. Am I allowed to say that? It's still a little bit buggy. Now it's popping up in here. You can see these are here the recent agents that I just configured in this environment or in this SharePoint environment. And if I click here on the Intranet Hub agent Cloud8, it changes and I can just use this agent to prompt again. There is, you can see, the pre-configured Intranet agent coming from Microsoft. And unfortunately, you can't do a lot of things with this one. You can't configure it, but you can do this here, Intranet Hub agent. So if you build your own Hub agent, you can set this as, first of all, you have to approve it. I will set this as approved agent. Okay. And what I can do now is set it as default agent. Let's just do that. I hope I don't get an error message. Okay, that worked out fine. Okay, let's go back. Sorry, something went wrong. So we are again back at the childhood illnesses oder Kinderkrankheiten. Reload. And I guess I'm a little bit too fast here for the SharePoint agents. Now we are back at it. Okay, so this will always be your starting agent if somebody clicks on Copilot or on the Copilot icon upon here. So we set this as default. And you can see I can still click on set as default. Okay, now I get the check mark here. Okay, so maybe it's working out now. But I think you have to be a little bit patient just with the SharePoint agents. I'm always too fast for SharePoint, I guess. Now you can share this agent. That's also really important. And you can copy the link and use that in Teams. I will do that. Link copied. So let's just open Microsoft Teams in here. And I can use this agent right now in a Teams chat, which is nice, I would say, but not perfect. Let's just use this chat in here. Yep, I will use this one. There's also already an agent in here, but you can see now what's happening. If I put another agent into the chat, I just copy and paste the link in here. Oh, now it's working. And if I add this chat to this group chat, the other agent that's already in here will get removed from the chat. That's totally okay for me. So I will add this to our group chat. It's also possible to share it in a meeting chat. Unfortunately, it's not possible to share it with myself so that I can use it in the chat that I have with myself. And it's not possible to use it as a single chatbot in here. So I can't put this chatbot as a single chatbot into the chat overview. So what you can see now, I get a welcome message. So everybody knows that this chat is, or this agent is already here in the group chat. And I can click on what is your password policy or what is our password policy. And then it automatically mentions the agent. I would test that here. What is our password policy? And I think I can show you a feature that's really nice. Please. do what I want from you. Yeah, that's great. So we have a group chat with the user here is called Frontliner. It's our frontline worker, and with Karin. And they both don't have access actually to our SharePoint environment, to our intranet environment. So what is happening in here? The agent wants me to review the response. So it asks me if the answer that he wants to provide is okay to share with the frontliner and with Karin, because they don't have access actually to our intranet. So I think this is a really cool feature, because in this case, the agent can't leak information. And it also shows me that there's maybe a sensitivity label behind that. So I have to really assure the agent that this is the right information, and this can be provided to the other people in the group chat. I will click on send, and here you can see it just answered the question like it did in SharePoint Online. Luis, can you put the agent on the Teams channel? Good question. Not by now. The Microsoft documentation says it's coming. I haven't seen it on the roadmap, so I think there is not a fixed date behind it. But you can do that maybe in weeks or months, or at the next Ignite. I don't know. You can also add that to a Teams channel. And I think the most benefit would be to add it to the M365 Copilot, because otherwise you have a lot of agents flying around everywhere. And I think the Copilot is the interface to get an overview for all your agents, on the top right corner here. But this is just my opinion, and also I think the opinion of most of my customers. Here in the top right corner, you can see all your agents. And I think this would be the best place also for the agents that you build in SharePoint Online. But I think this is also on the roadmap. I'm sure Microsoft is thinking about doing that. I hope this answered your question. Okay. Where are the SharePoint agents stored? Maybe that's also interesting for you. You can click on Site Contents. And there is the Site Assets library. In German, it's called Website-Objekte. And there is a Copilots folder. I don't know why it's called Copilots. Maybe they wanted, at the beginning, they wanted to name it Copilots and not Agents, but now it's Agents. So you can find your agents in here. And as you can see, this is a new file type, like the loop components. I think they are .loop. And the agents got a new file type, which is called .agent. And if you click on that file, I think that's also interesting. It's just opening in the file viewer, and you can chat with the agent in this overview. Yeah. And you can also share it with different people. That's all possible. Like you can do it with documents. You can also stop sharing it with other people. You can give them editing permissions, all that stuff you can do with pages and documents. So you can really do a lot of permission stuff on an agent-based level if you want to do so. And because we just approved our Copilot, or our agent that we built some minutes ago, it's in the approved folder right here. And there you can see Intranet Hub Agent Cloud8. Agent, so you can also delete it in here if you want to. This is the only way to delete your agents in this library. Click on the three dots like you do it with pages and documents and all that stuff. So this is handled just like other file types in SharePoint Online. Okay, what is there anything else? Yeah, who has access to agents in SharePoint Online? People with Microsoft 365 Copilot licenses can see SharePoint Online agents directly in SharePoint, so they can see the agent icon over there. But you can also set up pay-as-you-go. I can show that to you. I think that's also interesting. No, I can't show it to you because I don't have access to the admin center. But you can find the setting in the admin center. I think it's available since 2 or 3 weeks, or maybe longer, 4 or 5 weeks, that you can set up pay-as-you-go. So if you have an Azure subscription, or you have to build an Azure subscription, of course, and then you can set up pay-as-you-go, and then it's a per use. Yeah, you get billed per use. Yeah, that's it. And there is also a trial promotion. So if you have 50 more Copilot licenses in your tenant, you get 10,000 free messages or queries for the unlicensed users. And if you check the documentation, it says that this is off per default or by default. So you have to turn it on with PowerShell, but actually it's on by default. So if you have 50 or more Copilot licenses in your tenant, please check via PowerShell if this is really turned off or on, or in other case, all the people can use the SharePoint agents in here. So don't believe the documentation at that point. Okay, that's what I already said here, or just to give you an overview, with the Copilot licenses, they are automatically activated, the SharePoint Online agents. It's included in the license. There are no additional costs. But when you do the pay-as-you-go model, this can be activated in M365 Admin Center. The billing model behind that is that one message costs 1 cent. Actually, if someone prompts and the agent uses the generative mode, generates a generative answer, of course it does that because it's an intelligent agent. It always uses a generative response. You already have to pay for 2 messages. And if it consumes SharePoint content, you are already consuming 30 messages. So one answer in the SharePoint agents overview costs 32 cents. Yeah, Luis, this is expensive, I know. So if you are asking a lot of questions in here, I would say it's 100 per month. It's already cheaper to use the Copilot license. And I think that's also the strategy behind that. But users do not need to have an M365 Copilot license to use the SharePoint Online agents. And as I told you, there are 10,000 free queries per month if you already have 50 or more licenses for Microsoft 365 Copilot in your tenant. Who has permissions? Just very briefly, site visitors can use the SharePoint agents and can share them. Site members and people with editing permissions. So yeah, most of the time it's editors for the intranet. They can delete them, they can create new agents, and they can edit the agents. Only the site owners or the administrators can approve them and set them as default. If you have a question concerning the approvement of agents, I don't know why you have to approve the agent. It just changes that you can see the agent over here in the agent overview under approved, but all the other agents that were created from other people, you can also see them here in recent. So there's no real functionality behind approving agents, but I think the functionality behind that will come in the future. Okay. What can you use in the SharePoint agents overview? Up to 20 knowledge elements. I already told you that it can't search through lists. It can't use images by now. You can't use videos as content source and no OneNote files, but all the other stuff is possible to search through or use as knowledge source. Also loop components, fluid components, and all that stuff. So what are my first findings from SharePoint Online agent projects? Less is more. And that's also my finding for other stuff that you build in Copilot Studio. When you use SharePoint Online, less is always more. We have a project, or I have a project where we have an intranet with 40 or 50 site collections, and we wanted to build an agent with 10 site collections, an HR agent specifically, and we used global stuff, we used local stuff, and it got really confusing for the agents. So the less information you provide, the better the agent gets. So if your approach is to use one agent for the whole intranet, or your idea is to use one agent for the whole intranet, I have to tell you that you really have to try that out. So maybe if your intranet is not that big and you don't have 40 site collections, maybe this is a good way to do that. But I would always prefer to use smaller agents or to use the pre-built agents directly in the site collections because they work perfectly fine. So I already told you that the pre-configured agents not always use the whole hub as knowledge source. Pay-as-you-go is really expensive, as we already found out. You could see that. The trial promotion is on per default. That's also really important for you. And users get a notification when you turn on the SharePoint agents. So when you set up the agents in the admin center, or you enable the agents in the admin center and you put the Azure subscription behind that, every user gets a notification when they open the intranet that they can now use SharePoint Online agents. So, and you can't turn it off. So you can't do a rollout, a silent rollout. That's not possible. You can't enable them and don't tell anybody because they will get a notification. That's just my finding from yesterday. Okay, use cases, intranet. Yeah, we are here in an intranet session, so of course. And we already did the demo. So is there a question when it comes to SharePoint Online agents? Because otherwise I will jump into Copilot Studio. Nope. Okay. Good. The next thing. So we just saw the SharePoint Online agents and ready to use. So the easiest way to put AI into your intranet is to use the SharePoint Online agents, as you could see. And this thing, if you want to customize it, the best thing to do it is actually in Copilot Studio. So if you have a lot of customization, so you want to build flows behind it, you want to build your own topics, you want to put specific behavior to your agent, you want to publish it directly to a website and all that stuff. The best way to do it is to build your custom engine agent directly in Copilot Studio. And we will also do that directly was the word I was looking for in Copilot Studio. So I will also demo that to you. So here we are in Copilot Studio. Here's the home site. I hope you all know or have opened Copilot Studio by now, because again, I'm really fast when clicking through the stuff. But we have a recording, so you can look into the recording if you want to do it slowly. So we click on agents here and we want to build a new agent, a custom engine agent. And again, I will use here the prepared name for it. I will change the icon. Let's use exactly the same icon again. I already prepared the description. You already have seen that. And I'm already using the instruction here. And yeah, we'll leave it to English in here. If I click on knowledge sources, you can see there is more behind that than in the SharePoint Online agent overview. So you could also use a public website. If we click on create later on and we click on knowledge, it's also possible to use Dataverse and of course your own enterprise data connections. So you can use, of course, Salesforce and Confluence and Jira and all that stuff. And a lot of that stuff is also in the preview or coming in the future. So Microsoft is working really hardly on putting here the enterprise data connections into that overview. So we are using SharePoint, of course, and I will use the intranet in here. Click on add, and then I will use the IT site collection. I also click on add and use the HR site collection. This one. And that's it. Let's click on create. And now it gets a little bit more, I would say, detailed in here in this overview. It's still loading and preparing all that stuff. Here we are. Here is again a test window, so you can just directly ask all the questions or prompt and try out if the knowledge sources were added to the chatbot. Now we can see it, or to the agent. Here is the intranet, HR, and IT. You have to be a little bit patient in here. If this is not showing up right now, it takes some seconds to, I would say, provision that environment. Okay, so let's try again. What is our password policy? I hope I'm not too fast and the demo god is with us. But I guess it still has to crawl through the content or indexing the content. No, it worked perfect. Okay, password policy includes the following characteristics. So yeah, this is right. And if we click on password policy, we jump directly into our SharePoint site, our SharePoint page. So it's already working, but we're not done in here. I will show you some other stuff. So here in this environment or in Copilot Studio, you can now put actions behind that. And if you do that, you can use the actions that are also provided in Power Automate. So you can say if somebody wants to book an appointment somewhere, if they want to book vacation days, or yeah, if you want to do something like a form or something like that directly in your chatbot, you can do that by actions. So it's also possible to say if someone prompts something, please always write an email to person A or B. So you can put a lot of process stuff into your agents. And if you click on library, I will put SharePoint into that so you can see that you have all the stuff also from Power Automate. Yeah, you can do a lot of stuff here. List folders, move folders, all the fancy stuff, from Power Automate. There's also the possibility to add a trigger, but we don't need that actually I would say for a SharePoint Online Intranet agent, because the trigger would say that if you add a trigger, something is happening. So if a SharePoint element gets updated, if a list item gets added, if a list item gets deleted, if there is a new row in Dataverse or something like that, something is happening here with the agent. So this is the way to also build autonomous agents. In this case, we don't need that, but you can do that in here. And what's also really important here is you can use topics. You should use topics. So when it comes to orchestration, so with orchestration, you can somehow change the behavior of the agents, and you can put trigger words in there into the topics. You can define how the agent, how the agent acts and how the agent answers. So there are system topics in here, and the most important topic in here is actually the conversational boosting. If you click on that, this is where the generative AI magic happens. Okay, let's allow that. It's this part actually, create generative answers. And in here you can click on edit and turn off that the AI is allowed to use its own general knowledge. I always turn it off because I think the agents get a little bit lazy and not always search through the SharePoint if they can use their own knowledge. But we just want to use, of course, the SharePoint Online stuff. So I turn it off. And then I always say, please just search only the selected sources. And in the documentation, it says that you're only allowed to select 4. I already configured it with 8 and it still worked. So I don't know, maybe the quality gets worse, but yeah, that's not what I experienced by now. So you can search through your selected sources, add them in here, and you can also do some moderation if you want to. And yeah, that's it actually. And this is called classic orchestration. So if you use the classic orchestration, you tell the agent how to behave. It says, okay, on an unknown intent, I always use generative answers. If someone, let's say, says, thank you, this is the trigger phrase, thanks, thank you, it always says you're welcome. Let's say, thank you. It says you're welcome. So you can change the behavior of your agents. You can't do that in the SharePoint Online agents, as you've seen. There is another thing in here that's really, I don't know, it's not a revolution, but it's really changing the way we're building agents, and it's called the generative orchestration. If you enable that, there is a GPT model behind that agent that decides when to use which topic. So there's not a trigger phrase and someone says thank you and you tell the agent when someone says thank you, you have to answer like that. The GPT just knows what to do. It knows when to use which knowledge source. It knows when to use generative AI and all that stuff. So there is a brain behind that agent that is just deciding what to do. This is really cool, but it's just available in English. So if you want to build that in German, it's not possible to do that by now. I tried it, but the quality wasn't really good. And what you also have to do is to explain or to give information to your knowledge sources. I click on edit, so you have to put a really long description in there so that the GPT behind the generative orchestration just knows that this is a relevant knowledge source to use in the future. I tried to do that with, I already told you about that project with the 40 site collections. We tried to do that with, I think there were 12 site collections in there, and it wasn't good at all. So we again I have the tip for you: build smaller agents and don't put all the stuff into one agent, because you get a lot of nonsense answers, because it also crawls, of course, or it searches through all the news you provide in your SharePoint Online intranet. And then we asked the question, how much costs Hansefit? And it was just mentioned in a news posting 3 years ago, something for Hansefit, and then I don't know, it just provided the wrong answers. So we found out that the smaller the agents, the better the behavior, the better the quality of the answers. So that is just my biggest finding when it comes to agents. Of course, this is annoying because you just want to provide one agent and other people don't want to use 10 agents in their Teams overview. But as I just mentioned, it's really important to do that in the Microsoft 365 Copilot chat. So I think this is the right way to publish all your agents. Yeah, that's, I would say, my biggest finding. Here in the channel section, you can see that you could also provide, or you could also share your intranet agent on a demo website, but then you just have to think about the authentication. It will not provide information about your SharePoint Online stuff when the user doesn't log in. So I'm sure that the best way to do it is to use Microsoft Teams and provide the SharePoint bot in there, or not the SharePoint bot, the intranet agent in there. Okay. Wow, it's already 47. I'm so sorry. I hope this was all helpful for you. I could talk, I think, 2 hours more. Who can create agents in Copilot Studio? You need a tenant license. Or you can need a pay-as-you-go license in Copilot Studio, and there are specific roles to that who can use agents. You just have to have an M365 not a Copilot, an M365 license, so you don't have the Copilot license to use agents coming from a Copilot Studio. You can set up pay-as-you-go. You can say you have the consumption meter with the 25,000 messages, so you don't M365 Copilot license is not necessary. Okay, so anyone can chat with custom engine agents in Microsoft Teams, also frontline workers. That's what we're doing in the project I just mentioned. Good. There is something that's new in Copilot Studio. It's the enhanced search results feature. So if you have one Microsoft 365 Copilot license in Copilot Studio, you can enable that, and then it can use files up to 200 MB, megabytes, and it's turned on by default. And this is the licensing behind that. If you use this message pack subscription, you get 25,000 messages per month, which is, I would say, no, I would just, I'd calculated that, it's 0.7 cent per message. Of course, if you do pay as you go, this is more expensive. This one is cheaper, but these 25,000 messages, they get renewed every month. So if you didn't use them, you can't take them into the next months. So I would say this is the better way to go. It's again 30 messages for graph grounding. So if you use SharePoint, and of course there's a generative answer, it's 32 cents per message. And yes, okay. We're at the end, actually. Here's the table I just I talked about at the beginning of the session, and I will provide it on LinkedIn for you. This is an overview of all the possibilities you have to create your SharePoint Online agents, to create your intranet agents in Copilot Studio and SharePoint. And here you can see the benefits of it. You can see the pros and contras. You can see which feature is available in which tool, and what is on the roadmap. So this is the way to go if you're just thinking of building intranet agents and you're not sure what to use when. So yeah, the session is over already. Do you have any questions? Please use the chat. no messages, no questions. Then I can say thank you for joining the session. I hope it was helpful for you and have a nice weekend.